I know it's not Christmas. Bear with me. After the wise men had gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph, that's Mary's husband, in a dream. And the angel said, "Get up, escape to Egypt with the child and his mother, and stay there until I tell you to return, because Herod is going to search for the child to kill him." So this probably happened up to 2 years after baby Jesus was born. And Herod was one of those kings, like they all were, who was absolutely paranoid and always afraid that someone was out to get him, although actually probably in his case it was true. And he was afraid that a new king being born was a threat to his power. And so Joseph is warned to escape out of where Herod is king and go and live somewhere safe until Herod is out of the way. Now, it sounds very flippant. Nip down to Egypt, says the angel. How far away did they have to go? Well, let's have a look at a map. If they walked all the way from Bethlehem, you see, they go down, then they have to go across. They have to cross the top of the Red Sea there, and then go down a bit further. If they walked all that far, that would be 896 miles. Now, maybe they didn't go that far. Maybe they only went to Alexandria atop there, but even that is nearly 300 miles. They're walking, possibly with a donkey, probably with a donkey. Certainly, they didn't have sat-nav or Google Maps, so they were relying on well-known trade routes to walk down, probably with other caravans. I looked on Google and it said that you can walk 20 miles in a day. I'm not sure a 2-year-old child can walk 20 miles in a day, or that parents trying to carry a 2-year-old child could walk 20 miles in a day. So do the maths. 896 miles divided by 20 would be a lot of hours. We're talking weeks to get there. And not only that, but having walked all that way, they now end up in a country where they don't know the language, they don't understand the customs, the people don't worship the same God. And somehow, Joseph has got to find a job so that he can keep his family. It was usual in those days for the men to do the work and the ladies to look after children. The rights and wrongs of that we're not going into. But that's what it was like. And they're going to stay there for an indefinite amount of time. The angel didn't say, wait there a couple of months and I'll call you back, or you'll be there for 5 years. The angel didn't say that. He just said, go until I tell you to come back. And the reason I'm telling you this story is to remind you that Jesus faced just the same problems. His family faced just the same problems as lots of families in the world today. There are families who have had to run away from all that they know and try and find somewhere safe to live, leaving all their possessions behind. And that might be because of war. It might be because they are persecuted. They belong to a group or a religion that isn't welcome where they live. Or maybe there's been flood or there's famine. And suddenly they find they've got to leave everything they know and start a new life somewhere else. So today, we are going to think about being displaced in that way in the creative zone. We have decided to join up with something called the Teddy Trust. We have teddies at the back there. And we're going to write labels, because we are allowed to put a label on the teddy and it will stay on, that tells the little child who gets this as their one source of comfort that someone, somewhere, is thinking about them with love. If you've brought a teddy, thank you. If you can't bring a teddy, there's also a box at the back that says that it is the Teddy Travel Fund. These teddies need tickets to get where they're going, and we need to buy them for them because they haven't got any money of their own. So if you can afford to put 50 pence, a pound, a £20 note, whatever you can afford, into the box so that we can send the teddies to their new homes, that would be very much appreciated. So if you want to go and write labels and then put ribbons and attach them to teddies, please go to the back where Leslie is waiting to welcome you. And if you want to listen to the sermon, you can do that there, but you could stay here. So if you'd like to move, think about the messages you might put on these labels. There are some ideas, but you can think of your own too. You could write, "This teddy comes with lots of love," because that's true. We're sending it with our love. Or you could just say, "I hope this teddy is lovely to cuddle," that somebody would find comfort in having something of their own to love and to cuddle. So if you want to go to the back, go there. If you don't, stay where you are. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be now and ever acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. The disciples came to Jesus and said, "Lord, teach us how to increase our faith." Jesus answered, "If you had faith as small as a mustard seed, you could say to this mulberry tree, 'May you be uprooted and planted into the sea,' and it would obey you." You'll be pleased to know, I don't need that one yet. You'll be pleased to know that I am not going to explore the theology of mulberry trees being uprooted and planted in the sea, although I'm sure there are some biblical scholars who have done just that. But I think this is an example of Jesus' sense of humor. The disciples have come with a very serious question. And Jesus wants to give them a very serious answer that they will remember. So he plants in their mind the idea of this mulberry tree getting up on its roots and walking into the sea, like an ent out of Lord of the Rings. Because that would have brought a smile to their face just thinking about it. But then he goes on to the bit that's important. If you had faith as small as a mustard seed. And what he's saying here is this. It doesn't matter how small your faith is. Through me, we can do great things. And I know that for me anyway, and probably for you too, there are times when our faith does dwindle. When things have gone horribly wrong, or perhaps sometimes when things are going surprisingly well, we forget that God is there for us, and our faith kind of disappears into the background. But Jesus says it doesn't matter how small that faith is. I can do things with it. And that's an encouragement for all of us. An encouragement for all of us that wherever we are on our faith journey, not only is God right there by our side, surrounding us, supporting us, giving us a shelter, he's also ready to work through us great things. And I don't care whether you're 9 months or 99 years, there is always work for you to do. It will change over time. What you did when you were 15 isn't the same as what you did when you were 25, won't be the same as what you do when you're 95. But there is always a way that God can use the faith you've got, not just that, but the talents you've got to work for his kingdom. Can I have the next slide, please? Then the king said to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father. Inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger and you invited me into your home. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you cared for me. In prison and you visited me. Then the righteous will reply, Lord, when did we ever see you hungry and feed you? Or thirsty and give you a drink? When did we give you clothes? When did we offer you hospitality, or care for you when you were sick, or visit you when you were in prison? And the king will say, I tell you the truth. When you offered care and love to one of the least of my brothers and sisters, you did it for me. We are faced with enormous problems in this world today. Think about the war in Gaza that's been, seems to me, going on for centuries, not just decades. Or the invasion of Ukraine. Or the horrific rule of the Taliban in Afghanistan. Or civil war throughout Africa. Or gun crime in America, or shootings here in our own country. When we think about the problem of homelessness, when we think about the enormous problems people face with their mental health, when we think of the huge disparity between the rich and the poor, the haves and the have-nots, the task seems enormous. Much too big. But we go back to what Jesus says to his disciples. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, I can do great things through you. And here in this passage from when Jesus is talking about the end times in picture language, he's reminding his disciples that the faith that they have is best shown in the things that they do and the words that they say. Not that those words or those actions will buy us our way into heaven. That's not what it's about. Those words and those actions are an expression of the faith that we have. And just as a small amount of faith can do great things, so our small acts of kindness, of service, of love, can begin to bring about the change we want to see. We are agents of change. Our God is a God of change, a God of renewal, a God of new hope, a God of new possibilities, a God of perfection and beauty. And we have a role to play. I don't know what your gifts are. I don't know what your financial circumstances are. I don't know where you are in your faith. I only know where I am. And I know that there are things I need to do. There are things I need to do within this congregation. A lot of them at the moment are to do with supporting Leslie in the role she has. The role actually that I had when I was her age. When I was the Sunday school person, when I ran the choir, when I did youth club. And now my role is to support her, to be there for youth club when I can, to be there for tiddlers when I can, to make cakes for Refresh when I can. In the wider area, I've got a couple of charities that I work with. And I work, of course, with my own family, giving them the support and love they need. I try and be a good neighbor to the people around me. I try to engage in conversations, to ask them how they are, to show them that I'm bothered about what they do. Where is your field of influence today? Where can you be offering a cup of water or an invitation outside these walls? Where can you offer inside this congregation time and talent to support others' work, or for an initiative of your own? Jesus said, what you do for the least of these my brethren, my sisters and my brothers, you do for me. Can I have the... I found this quote this week. Deborah was part of my Bible study this week. Can I go back to Judges, please? And Deborah, remember Deborah was a judge and a leader who said women couldn't be leaders. And she has this prayer for her people. She says, Lord, may those who love you rise like the sun in all its power. And I thought, what an amazing prayer for the people of God. Because this asks that those people will be like the sun. And what does the sun give us? It gives us light. We can see things. We can bring things to people's attention by the light that we shine. We can bring the warmth of God's love to the people around us, the people right next to us, and through the teddies, people will never ever meet. Through shoeboxes, people will never know. We can share something of the warmth of the love of God. And we have the words of life. We've got those, but we're not meant to hang on to them. We're meant to share them. Who do we know who needs to hear that they are loved by God? That they are worth something? Not because of the brand they use, but because they were made in the image of God and He loves them. Where can we be? The light, the warmth, and the life of God, because we are the people of God. And then I was watching the television and I saw Dame Sarah Mullally. Some of you may know she is now Archbishop of Canterbury designate. She takes up her role in January. But she said this as part of her speech. In a world full of uncertainty, the possibility of healing lies in acts of kindness and love. In a world full of uncertainty, the possibility of healing lies in acts of kindness and love. Lord, thank you that we are your people. Help us to shine with your love. Help us to be those who, knowing they are loved, share that love with others. Bring us into situations where we can be kind, where we can be loving. And Lord, help us to recognize them so they don't pass us by. In a world full of uncertainty, Lord, the possibility of healing lies in acts of kindness and love, inspired by you and strengthened by you. That's what we'll do. In the power of the Spirit and in the name of Jesus, this is our prayer. Amen.